William, I need you to do me a huge, huge favor, like the biggest favor I've ever asked of you.
Talk to me.
I need this episode to stretch for roughly 6 hours because I have been dealing with a screaming child since 8 o'clock this morning, buddy. We are in the newborn trenches. We are getting overrun. The Germans are barreling down on my location, and I have no one in these trenches with me. I'm just flying out here with a M1 Grand rifle, just hoping for the best, Will. And luckily, they haven't got me yet. But the longer this episode takes, the better. So if you have anything at all you'd like to talk about today, please. Today is the day to do it.
I think I can help you out, buddy. So, guys, the first thing that I'm going to say is hit the subscribe button. Then make sure if you want to become a member so you can win some free things, let's do that. And then that's pretty much all I got for today's episode, Steve. Let's get out of here.
Unbelievable. Speaking of new members, John Core 2009 joined brand new member, Super Den. I'm telling you right now, we're going to start doing our giveaways. They're going to start being pop-ups. All right. No more heads ups. Hey, we're going to start rewarding those people who are already members. I'll tell you right now, we have some pretty good memorabilia. We'll be doing a Basic Den giveaway tomorrow. After that, they're all pop-ups from here on out. We do have a little something for our Basic Den members. But, Will, what are we talking about today?
Listen, we're going to be talking about really kind of piggybacking the show that we did yesterday. We're going to be talking about Frank Ragnow. We got on the retirement yesterday, but we're going to be talking about what's the fallout of that? What's this thing look like? Who's going to be stepping in for him? What's this offensive line look like? Are we in shambles? Are we panicking here at Detroit Den 313? Are we selling the team? Are we like, what's going on here, Steve? Set the table for the people, man.
There's some people yesterday, they're saying that we sound like some panicked little girls. Listen, I don't recall coming on here yesterday and saying anything about the season being over or the Super Bowl window has officially closed. And if you bought tickets, cancel your trip to the Super Bowl. Because I still think that the Detroit Lions are a Super Bowl contender. It's just it's going to look a little bit different now without Frank. So I don't know what kind of vibes we were putting out there yesterday. Well, I think if we look at the Detroit Lions podcast community as a whole, I think you and I tend to be more positive and trying to find a bright shining light. But when a 4-time Pro Bowl center retires, that is hard to replace, is all we were really saying. And we do think that it kind of waters down the equity in that offensive line, making it a little bit worse. Because when you lose a 4-time Pro Bowler and you're throwing in a rookie center, depending on who it is, we're talking about Frank Ragnow having more Pro Bowls than Tate Ratledge has snaps. So let's just set the table with that. We are not saying that the season is over, but where do we go from here, Will? What do you think is the best option for the Detroit Lions at the center position?
I just don't understand why you're freaking out. I mean, Tate Ratledge is probably better than him anyways. Like, I just don't get it.
I hope so.
Just got way more athletic. Like,
Line's
probably better overall. Like, I just don't guys, come on, man. Like, that's why I didn't even bother to respond to some of them, man, that I was seeing, because it's just absolutely crazy. And I got to address it. Your opinion is your opinion, but we're allowed to have ours as well. And if you think that Frank Ragnow retiring, really a cough and a sniff or a scratch and a sniff before training camp isn't a big deal, man, maybe I'm just completely off base with this whole football thing. Maybe football isn't my thing because I'm one that thinks it's a big deal. And I think I can speak for Steve too. So if that being a big deal is a problem, then shame on us, man. We need to reevaluate some things. But as you said, Steve, the show must go on. I agree with you. I think that we're going to be okay. I'm not going to sit up here and say, yeah, man, we're about to have the best offensive line ever. We're going to be just fine. We're not even going to notice it. You're going to notice Frank Ragnow being gone. You're going to notice it. Is it catastrophic? No, it's not catastrophic. No one player is catastrophic, to include, and I know people are going to get upset when I say this, but to include the quarterback position. Now, would it put us back? Absolutely it would, right? But no one player for most teams don't have Travis Hunter. So most teams are dependent on 22 starters. Hey, they got a guy, they got one less or whatever. So 21 for those guys. But most teams are dependent on 11 on one side and 11 on the other. So this is a team sport, man. No one guy is going to sink the complete ship, but it makes it different. That guy in the center of that offensive line making every single call. Can you replace him with Graham Glasgow to come in and make every single call? As a veteran, probably. Are you going to lose some stuff? Because especially if he's building upon what he did last season? Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to say, hey, maybe You get more athleticism when you put Tate in there. Is a rookie going to be able to make all of those calls? Like, we got questions, Steve. Now, what does Will think's going to happen? What's probable? I think what's probable is Graham Glasgow goes to center. You get Tate at one guard position. You get Christian Mahogany at the other position. Now, that poses a question. Why in the heck is Tate Ratledge taking first team reps at center and you're saying he's going to go play guard? Because Graham Glasgow hasn't looked phenomenal. So, and we need to be prepared to have a backup center. And there's another person on our team that I'll get to later on that's taking some center snaps. Tate Ratledge is somebody who's never taken any center reps with the Detroit Lions. Didn't get any live center reps with Georgia Bulldogs, Steve. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Yeah, sorry, I was looking for a picture.
Didn't get any live center reps. They did say that he was the backup center for those guys if something bad happened, but he didn't get any live game center reps with those Dogs, man. So he needs to get those reps, man, throughout camp to get prepared, even if he's going to be the backup to a Graham Glasgow. I do believe that the Detroit Lions knew that this Frank Ragnow situation was a possibility. That's why we drafted the way that we drafted. But I'm quite sure Dan was like, hey, man, listen, we need you, man. They were saying the things. They were begging. They were doing everything that they needed to do besides guaranteeing money, apparently. But at the end of the day, Steve, I think this thing is just fine. How do you feel about Graham Glasgow potentially being the center, at Tate at one guard, looking at Christian Mahogany at the other guard? Do you think that's the probable solution? Are you looking at something different? And if so, how do you feel about it?
No, just looking within the team, Graham Glasgow was probably the only one with the most experience at center. I don't think people really understand the importance of the center position. Like you said yesterday, it is absolutely vital that the center and quarterback are on the same plays. The center is in charge of all the protections, all the run schemes, blocking schemes. He's in charge of it all. All right. That's years of knowledge and experience that we're losing just in Frank Ragnow. So who's second place when it comes to years and experience? It's Graham Glasgow. And then you could just have Mahogany and Tate Ratledge at guards. That's kind of where I think we wanted them to be when we drafted them. But yeah, you want to give them snaps just in case, because now if something happens to Graham, you have some guys who have some experience, very, very little, even if it's throughout training camp, who have that experience at center, and maybe Miles Frazier or Tate Ratledge take up if something happens to Graham Glasgow. But I just want to show people what exactly we lost here. And I can't stress it, because this is what I was looking for. This image right here from Lions on Tap, 5,541 snaps at center, 6 sacks allowed in his career, William. Like, that is what we're losing. If you guys don't think that's important, hey, good luck this season. I hope you're nothing but the best. But I'm telling you, Frank was an absolute vital piece to this offensive line. It has to be one of the best, because we talked about it yesterday. You have to keep Jared Goff upright. We have 2 running backs who are explosive, and that's how the Detroit Lions want to play football, is by running it. We could talk about the metrics and the measurables that Frank has in the run game too. He's one of the top-rated centers in the run game as well. So it's a very important piece. But I think that the obvious answer for right now is Graham Glasgow. All right, and he was my MVP for the Detroit Lions a couple years ago. I called him the most valuable piece, because he was just kind of switching in and out, left guard, right guard, center. Like he's a Swiss Army knife. Have we seen a little decline in play the last season? I would say probably a little bit, but I think that when we drafted Ratledge and Frazier, we were hoping that Frank had one more year. We were going to give these guys some center snaps whenever we could afford the opportunity to do so. Rookie minicamp, OTAs, training camp, preseason games maybe. But I think when the regular season comes, Dan and Brad wanted these guys to play guard. So if we can just stick to that plan and just shift Graham Glasgow over to center, I think that that's probably the best road going forward. And we talked about this in our draft process. Now we just kind of kick that can down the road. Maybe if Mahogany and Ratledge are just lights out at guard, maybe in the draft next year we kind of address it in an earlier position, someone who's a more natural guard. Because yeah, you're right. They didn't get a lot of center snaps at Georgia or LSU, and Mahogany's just pretty much locked in at guard. So that's probably something I think we just have to kick the can on down the road to next year's draft or free agency.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I think that when I look at this thing, the only thing, and it's crazy that I'm going to say this because of one player, but I feel like I'm not worried about starting O-line. as much as I'm worried about now. O-line depth. And people in the comments are going to say, oh, man, we lost one dude, and now you want to talk about O-line depth. But we lost that one piece.
This is that one piece.
Yeah. But now a depth piece is going to have to start immediately, because we were talking about potentially Tate or Graham coming off of the bench, one of them. Didn't know who it was going to be, but we were talking about who was going to play that guard position, because we knew, hey, listen, Tate, you can take all the snaps you want throughout training camp, preseason. Week one, we in our minds already knew that Frank was a starting center. So it was a matter of one position being up for grabs with two. And if you want to bring in Frazier, potentially three guys, right? Now, and then that's not even talking about Yodi in that mix too. So now it's a different situation. Now we're talking about that depth piece starting on that offensive line. So who are the depth pieces now? Now we're talking about that same scenario that we had before of Yodi being in that conversation. We're talking about a rookie and Frazier being in those conversations, right? So we're talking about Christian Mahogany definitely starting now. There's no questions here, no ifs, ands, or buts for the most part. It's just different. So now if we have anything happen in that offensive line, the depth is a little bit different. So Steve, does depth worry you at all going into this season? The thought process of maybe you know, if somebody's banged up, now you got to look at, hey, what if Graham Glasgow is a center, older guy, veteran? What if he gets banged up? We got to move Tate. Then who's that guard going to be that's stepping in? Does any of that worry you?
This is my thought process. This is kind of what I was thinking about last night. Is I don't like to use the word shuffle when we have so many brand new interior offensive linemen. So I'm trying to live in a world where we know who our tackles are going to be: Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker. If the center is Graham Glasgow and we're putting Ratledge and Mahogany at left or right, let's say something happens to Graham Glasgow, I think that it's pivotal that Miles Frazier starts getting a lot of attention at center. That way, if something happens to Graham, you just plug Miles Frazier in there at center. Your guards stay the same, your tackles stay the same. Now, if we're losing some other pieces, then we probably have to do a little shuffling. But if we're just talking about the center position, and that's our focus for today, I think that has the least amount of ripples. Is right now today, Miles Frazier, your center, number 2 on the depth chart when it comes to center. Just because I just want to leave those pieces alone, let them cook, let them mesh. If I have to bring in Miles Frazier for a Graham Glasgow 1 or 2 games, it's a minimal ripple effect to me. I don't think there's great options starting with Graham Glasgow. I think, like I said, he's a little bit on the decline. So I don't know what kind of level of play we're going to be getting with our starting center. But our backup center, if something were to happen there, I think it should just be Miles Frazier. Like, hey, man, for at least this year, we're work on some center stuff just in case, because I just want to leave Tate and Mahogany alone at their guard positions if they stay healthy, and just let them cook for the season and let them get that experience and not move them around too much.
Yeah. My only problem is we got to start getting them snaps soon, and I'm not sure what's happening in the last couple of days, and what the plan is moving forward. I knew that this was a potential there, but Frazier has been cross training at tackle and guard, so Tate's been going center and guard, and then the guy that we didn't really do a show on him, but we did a little quick snippet on Muntai from that we got from the Broncos. Man, that dude that was like the freaking bench press freak from a few years ago that's always been banged up, but I showed glimpses of being pretty good. He's in that mix. A guy who's listed on the depth chart, and this is a guy who's been forgotten that I'm interested to see what happens with him. He went to the lineman master class a couple of seasons ago, was absolutely forgot about, and had some tough moments when he did get into the lineup. And none other than Kobe Sorsdahl out of William and Mary. That's a guy who has some center reps in his repertoire from back in the day. I'm wondering if he gets an opportunity to move over and get some center snaps too and get back into this conversation, or if they're going to keep him in at tackle, or what's going to go on with him, because he was a guard, then he was getting reps at center, then next thing you know, he's a tackle. So I'm interested to see what happens to him. He's another one, big, strong kid. I think he's about 6'6", 315 pounds. Like, he's not a little guy. He fits that mold of being a big, strong, run blocking guy. Like, his run blocking isn't a question at all. That's a dude who gets after it when you're talking about blocking for the run, but his pass blocking It needs some works from last time I seen him. I don't even know if he got any snaps last season, but when we did see him a couple seasons ago, his rookie campaign, when he got some snaps, it wasn't good. So he's a guy that I'm kind of outside of the big names. I'm looking for to maybe make some noise, man, in camp, and maybe get himself maybe a second string position, or maybe get into the conversation. How you feel about Kobe?
I don't have a lot of hope. I'm not a hopeful man. From the very, very few times I've seen Colby, wasn't great. I can't remember what game he came into his rookie season. It wasn't pretty. I'd have to really go back and look at the film. But just out of curiosity, while you were talking, I was looking at the 2025 expected Detroit Lions depth chart, and this is probably someone we need to reevaluate and look at again. They have Michael Neese listed as the backup center. So we'll have to take a look at him, know his name. Not 100% sure how much snaps he's got the last couple seasons or where he's really been throughout his career. So that's someone we're going to have to dive into a little bit as well to say, hey, they got him listed as the second string center, but I don't know that might be the best option. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But Will, I just can't stress enough that, we're not panicked. We're not selling tickets to the Detroit Lions and giving up hope and not going to games anymore. But we did lose a big piece. And some of the people yesterday made it sound like we were just like, oh man, like, I think we were getting called everything under the sun. I think some people threw out the SOL mindset. Like, I don't know where the hell that came from, but when you lose an all-pro and a pro bowler, it's a big deal. I'm sorry. If you don't understand the game of football and how vital the center position is, when you have one of the best and you're expecting them to be on the team for at least one more year, and this kind of comes out of nowhere, it's a bigger deal than a lot of people. And there was someone, I can't remember who it was. It kind of turned into a casual conversation or comments that were going back and forth that who's to say that when we talked the other day about Frank Ragnow's contract, was that leaked or was that rumor? And I said, well, the rumor or the leak, whatever you want to call it, came from the Detroit Free Press. Steve and Will do not have ties to the Detroit Free Press. If they report something, we have to take it for what it's worth. We don't have access to coaches, players, upper management, agents. We don't have any of that. So if someone like a Dave Burkett says that there's a contract dispute, I don't think he's been wrong before. And someone's like, well, Frank never came in front of a camera and said that he was unhappy with his contract. Well, Matthew Stafford never sat in front of a camera and demanded to be traded, but it got leaked and you guys took it for what it's worth because it actually ended up happening. So I just wanted to clear that as well. These players don't get in front of a camera and say what they're feeling. It goes through their agents. It goes through the GM. There's someone in the room that hears something, or there's an email put out and people put the pieces of the puzzle together. It's probably what happened here. But Stephen, Will, I don't think I have any ties to the Detroit Free Press. Will, I don't know. Do you have like a third cousin or an aunt or someone who's working for the DFP? Because to my knowledge, I don't think you do.
Yeah, I don't, man, but I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, and you hit the nail on the head. I'm just going to add one more thing to it, man. Number one, it didn't just come from Dave Burkett. By the time that we put it out, we Sports Illustrated had wrote something about it, and there was other people that were talking about it as well. But neither here nor there, because Steve, we didn't come on here and say, hey, Will and Steve, Detroit Den 313, Frank Ragnow has demanded that he gets a new contract. That's not what we said. We said, hey, there was an article written about Frank Ragnow potentially wanting a new contract. How do you feel about it if this is the case and what's going on? So a lot of times I think people sometimes when they just get hung up on their feelings and emotions about certain things or whatever they saw on Twitter and then watching our show and combining it all, like we're those people or maybe some other podcasts that they got. We do not come on here and definitively say things like, hey, this player has said this or said that unless they have actually done it. Everything else is a conversation. And sometimes, as we say, we're sitting down at work, in the locker room, at the barbershop, at the grocery store, at the bar, whatever, having a conversation with our boys, man. This is what this thing is supposed to be about sometimes. So guys, take it for what it's worth. But hey, if you want to get on there and hammer us, so be it, man, because you hurt my little feelings a little bit last night, but I'm back today. Go ahead.
I will say that there's very, very few circumstances where a player does get in front of a camera and demand or say something. Like, I'm not saying it never happens. Like, I'm thinking of like the Jamar Chase situation in Cincinnati and the Tyler Boyd and that kind of stuff was a little bit more public and out there. But 99% of the time, it's conversations with agents, like I said. Just because Frank didn't sit down and say he was unhappy doesn't mean that the report wasn't credible. And the best comparison I have is when we traded Stafford a few years ago. He didn't sit down on social media and record a video of him saying, hey, I want to be traded and I don't want to go through a rebuild. He did that through his agent. It got leaked. He ended up getting traded. So that's usually the way it happens. But I know someone will say, well, there's a wide receiver out there that went out and demanded a trade. Like, yeah, it does happen. But in Frank's situation, his character speaks for itself. That's not what he did. And, it's water under the bridge now. We got to move on. We got to find a backup center or someone to start at center now and talk about their backups. And I do think that this makes the Detroit Lions more of a question mark because we've had question marks about what the offense is going to look like with a new offensive coordinator. And when you have Jared and Frank, I was thinking, okay, we're good. We got our two leaders on offense, Penny Sewell, like we're no problems. This is just another wave from the ripple of Frank Ragnow retiring. Will we be okay? Yeah, I still expect the Detroit Lions to win the NFC North. I still expect the Detroit Lions to be Super Bowl contenders or favorites or win the whole damn thing. Like my opinion on the team overall isn't different. It might just look a little different on the football field.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on. Leads me to a question. Gotta know. We haven't really talked about this either, but a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of people that are mainstream radio heads and TV hosts and broadcasters, Dan Orlovsky being one of them, Chris Sims, the groups, the clusters, have said Jared Goff, MVP candidate, right, this year, potential MVP season being loaded. Right. Do you think after losing Frank Ragnow, does Jared Goff have a little bit harder task ahead of him being a quarterback who as you say, I don't say it, you say it, is a statue back there? Steve, how you feeling?
I think we can check his tape and see just how fast and how much mobility he has, and the tape will be on my side in that one. Yeah. William, when it comes to Goff, I couldn't be more 50-50. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I understand the contract makes him my quarterback. Whether I love him or hate him, it doesn't matter. I talk about it all the time. Last season with Ben Johnson was the best situation you could put a quarterback in, with all the weapons around Jared Goff, the offensive line in front of Jared Goff, the biggest name in play calling, who eventually leaves and becomes a head coach of the Chicago Bears, calling plays for you. Like, it was a perfect recipe. And I've said it before that Washington game was probably 70% Jared Goff's fault. Against a bad defense. That's how he went out and played. It's left a bad taste in my mouth ever since. Do I think he's an MVP candidate? Absolutely not. He's not going to win an MVP, William. And I don't care. I don't need him to win an MVP. I don't want to come on here and say, wow, the Detroit Lions won an MVP with Jared Goff. I would much rather come on here and say, wow, the Detroit Lions won a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. It's not an individual sport. Leave those trophies. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, they can have the MVPs. And I know Mahomes has a couple of Super Bowls as well, but I want a Super Bowl. I don't care if it's you, me, or your son, little Will, back there playing quarterback. Whoever brings a Super Bowl to the Detroit Lions, I do not give two shits about MVPs. It would be a conversation. We'd have a show on it, obviously, but in my heart, I personally don't care about MVP trophies.
I want to make sure that I look into the camera for this, so AI makes sure that they clip this short into exactly what I need it to be. I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but Steve from Detroit then just said Hendon Hooker should be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
50 on Jared Goff. Anyways, but Will says something different. No, Will says, I agree with you, man. Jared Goff, I need more out of you this season. That Washington Commanders game, and I'm not even going to say the whole game, but I am going to say when the floodgates got opened, when you could have just made the throw into the dirt and you threw that pick. 3rd and 1 or whatever it was, you throw it.
That was the fumble, wasn't it? The pick was 5 other.
Was it the fumble? Okay, yeah,
hard to keep track of the turnovers in that game.
Yeah, right. But you could have just threw that thing into the dirt, man. Lived to play another down, but instead, it's a turnover and a huge momentum shift in one of the biggest games in Detroit Lions history. 15-2 team, about to make a run, home playoff game. gets taken out by a rookie quarterback on that opposite end who played a little bit more poised that day. Do I think that's the catastrophic end of Jared Goff? I don't. Do I think that he's a guy who can bounce back and lead us to a Super Bowl? I do think that Jared Goff is capable of leading us to a Super Bowl. And I've said this and I stand on it. Jared Goff is one of the top probably 3 quarterbacks in the league when he's hot. When he's hot, listen, give me Patrick Mahomes. And I don't even know, like, if I want anybody else besides Patrick Mahomes when Jared Goff is hot. But when he's cold, I darn near want anybody else but Jared Goff. You know what I mean? Like, when he's Houston Texans, Jared Goff, that guy, when he's when my man, what was his name? Warford, little guy from the Rams, when he's that Jared Goff just getting started over by little Sam Warford or whatever, that guy, that Jared Goff, man, and when he gets like that, it's just bad, man. And we just need to make sure in the big moments we're prepared to be Jared Goff, the superhero. If that guy shows up, I think he's capable of winning not a Super Bowl. I think he's capable of leading the Detroit Lions to winning Super Bowls. But we got to get that first one first. Don't think that Frank Ragnow being gone helps out his case at all. So, Jared, if I were you, I'd be at Frank's house, doing all of the things that Penei Sewell did to make sure that Hank came back, the smear campaign. Like, you might want to, hey, listen, get some type of lawsuit going against Frank, man, so he's got to come back and make some money or something. Like, no, I'm kidding, but
maybe we have to start a GoFundMe for Frank Ragnow to get a new fishing boat if he comes back and runs it back for one more season.
Man, no joke, man. And I told you, I still stand on this, Steve, getting off of the subject, kind of, but he's only 29 years old, man. Maybe he gets healthy and comes back for a playoff run or comes back next season, man. I still stand on that. I still hope that that's true, but this season right now, we got to live in a world where we don't have Frank now. We got to move on. We'll be fine. Steve and Will aren't panicking here at Detroit Den 313. We'll be fine. But if the offense was if the offensive line was the number 1 offensive line or number 2 offensive line in the league with Frank Ragnow, I think that now we're probably number 6, number 7, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're now all of a sudden the worst offensive line in the league. That's not what we're saying. But we were getting on here, and we weren't just saying it just to say it. But listen, I think we're the number 1 offensive line in the league. Who's better than us? Because I'm going to tell you, I feel like Frank was the best at his position. Penei Sewell is the best at his position. Let's start there. And I have no problems with what I saw out of Graham Glasgow. I think Taylor Decker's in the conversation to be one of the top tackles in the league by top. I mean, he's a top 10 for sure, right? I mean, what's the question marks here? He's about to come in and be a dog. I would have been putting that offensive line up against any offensive line in the league. Remove one of the best players at the position and only having one person who's the best player at the position on your line now. Conversation changes a little bit. Doesn't mean we're not going to be productive, because I'm still going to tell you we're the only team with 2, to me, top 6 running backs in our backfield. Because I think David Montgomery's definitely a top 10 running back. I think top 6, top 7, and I'm gonna tell you Jahmyr Gibbs is probably number 2. So what are we doing?
2. Yeah. Who's number? I got to ask who's number 1. Please don't say Saquon Barkley.
I can't take it away from Saquon, man.
Guy has one hurdle in his whole life, and he gets the Madden cover. What are we doing? Yeah. Come on.
We got to dethrone him. We got to dethrone him.
Let me ask you a question.
Could be in that conversation too if he'd stay healthy. But
final question. I saw someone put this on. I can't remember if it was one of our comments or if it was on Twitter, but it was a good question. Someone compared the Frank Ragnow retirement to what Barry Sanders did in the early 90s, and I think that is completely unfair. But I understand the suddenness and the surprise puts it up there. So when you think about who's been like the biggest surprise retirement for me, anyways, I'll say Barry Sanders, number 1, literally like the day of training camp, sending a fax from London, like before social media even existed. 2 for me would probably be Calvin Johnson, just because I think he had more in the tank. He could have played more, but I understand where the team was. 3rd, probably Frank Ragnow. I truly believed we had at least one more season with Frank to get these guards some reps and some playing times. Now we're just playing the shuffle game. And it's not that I think that our offensive line is absolute dog shit. I'm with you. We just have question marks on the inside because we have so many rookies with very limited snaps and limited playing time. We could come on here with pie on our face in 2 or 3 seasons and say, damn, we still have the best offensive line, even though we lost Frank Ragnow back in 2025. Like, it's still possible, and I'm still very hopeful that that's the case. But for me, it's just hard to lose one of the best centers in football and say that life's just going to go on and there's going to be smooth sails and clear seas for the rest of the season. But we have a team that's more than good enough to get the job done and win a Super Bowl. So just wanted to clear the air on that. So do you think that this is like a huge shocking surprise similar to Barry and Calvin Johnson in that regards?
No, because Frank has been rumored to potentially retire for a couple of seasons. So due to his health. So because of that, I wouldn't say the same as Barry or Calvin Johnson. But I did immediately think him being 29 years old, man, why does this happen to the Detroit Lions so much?
Sucks.
Like, it just sucks, man. Guys that are, because I believe Frank is, if not the best at his position, one of the best at his positions. Calvin Johnson, I think, was the best at his position. And then Barry Sanders, I think, was the best at his position. Why do we lose these guys before it's time? Now, I would say with Barry, and I know the whole fullback thing and, that whole deal or whatever, not agreeing with what they were doing and whatever, but they weren't in a position to compete for a Super Bowl. I think Barry probably stays out there. So does Calvin Johnson if we were competing for a Super Bowl. Frank Ragnow is competing for a Super Bowl and decided to step away. That's interesting. So that lets you know where his body probably is. And I truly believe there's something to this contract stuff. And some people say it was the guaranteed money. Some people say that it was the overall contract when you match it up against some of the other guys. Some people say that he was the 4th highest paid. Some people say it was number 2 or number 3, whatever, however, depending on how you want to look at it, whole value or this season alone, whatever. Bottom line is, I think that it was all of the things put together. It's unfortunate that we lost one of the best at this position, but I think I can speak for both of us when we say we're wishing him nothing but the best. And I hope that he gets like a little replica, little baby replica ring, Super Bowl ring, after we go and win it all this season.
Yeah. You got anything else for tonight?
No, man. Let us know in the comments. Put our starting offensive line in the comments. Who is it? Is it Graham Glasgow at the center? Is Tate at the center? Is it Kingsley and Guakin? Is it Corby Sorsdahl? Like, is Broderick Martin making a switch from defensive tackle where he's not playing any snaps and coming over to center? Will he have the same amount of snaps at defensive tackle?
Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.